How to find and wholesale your deals to cash buyers in a 4-step process. Guys, it's Rick Ginn, and today I'm going to walk you through on not only how to find your cash buyers, but the complete 4 steps it's going to take you to get all your deals to the finish line. But before I get into it, make sure you smash that like button, you hit that subscribe notification button to continue to receive the best information on wholesaling today. So let's start with step 1. We have to find the cash buyers. And honestly, this is kind of the easiest part. So let me walk you through the various places so you can find cash buyers so you can get started right away. So number 1, simply look for the for rent ads. You can look for physical for rent signs in the neighborhood where you have your wholesale deal. You can also look online for any type of for rent ads. Why? Because for rent ads means there's cash buyers that want to buy more properties. So if they already have 1 or 2, it makes obvious sense that they would be wide open to being presented to a great wholesale deal. The next one is your local REIA groups. These are, REIA stands for Real Estate Investment Association. There's a lot of cash buyers there, a lot of really older landlords that collect a lot of properties. This is a great place to meet up with them. One of my favorite places is your Facebook groups. Particularly is you want to look for Facebook investor groups. So if you were in like Detroit, I would look up Detroit investor groups, Detroit wholesalers. And from there, look for people that are looking to buy properties. They are usually looking for a discount, and to pay cash for them is a great place to connect with them, and it's absolutely free. Realtors. Oh my gosh, realtors are great. So you're looking for realtor agents that represent cash buyers, and they have a great relationship with their cash buyers, and they can save you a lot of time and headache. CRAIGSLIST. It's still around. It's a lot more spammy, a lot more scam artists, but make sure you vet them properly, which we'll go through in our 4 steps, but CRAIGSLIST still works. And guys, do not forget your title companies. All cash buyers lead through title companies. So your title companies have relationships with these cash buyers. They know who the real movers and shakers are in the wholesaling industry. And for that reason, if you don't reach out to your local title companies, you're missing out on a huge source to find vetted, proven cash buyers. The last place you want to look is basically auctions. And most towns have some sort of auction company. They're usually established companies, small family companies, and they sell problematic properties, people that need to sell them quick. Remember, you don't want to be the highest bidder. You don't even really want to bid at an auction. You want to go there and rub elbows with other cash buyers so you can get them on your cash buyers list. One of the easiest ways is simply to go over to listrei.com, and you can do an online search, and with this service, it will pull up cash buyers in the specific areas you're looking for. I find it one of the easiest ways to do it. You can go over there. If you're not signed up with them, you can get a 7-day free trial period. So now that you've found your cash buyers, you're like, Rick, what do we do from there? So step 2 is vetting your cash buyers, and I broke this down into 2 different steps. So number 1, we have to verify who the cash buyer is. So many times people, they just kind of chat. Find out who you're talking to sooner than later, and make sure that's the person you're talking to. How do I do that? The next thing I want to do when I'm vetting them is I want to make sure that we have the right person we're talking to, and make sure they have the authority to enter into a real estate contract. Meaning, if they have to bring their dad by, or their mom by, or their partner, or their sister, you know what I'm saying here is make sure you're talking to the decision maker. A lot of people will go out and do all the work for it, and I'm okay working with real estate agents that have the authority to speak on behalf of their cash buyers, but the reality is make sure you're talking to the right person, because if you're not, you're going to have to do this 2 or 3 times, and it gets exhausting, and a lot of times they'll waste your time. So make sure they have the authority to enter in the agreement to vet your cash buyers so you're not wasting your time. The next thing I'm going to ask them is if they can provide me with a proof of funds. And honestly, this is usually where cash buyers completely fall apart. You see, just saying you're a cash buyer is not going to be good enough. In fact, I don't believe anybody tells me they're a cash buyer. A highly qualified cash buyer has no issues giving you a proof of funds, and they'll typically turn it back on to you to see if you have a deal. Now, don't panic if you're brand new in wholesaling and you don't have a deal. That's fine. Just say, listen, hey, Rick, when I get a great deal, are you going to have a problem getting me a proof of funds when we do it? The reality is the market's a little bit softer right now, and demanding a proof of funds without about you having a deal could come back on you. Now, if you have a deal, don't move any further in the vetting part of this conversation until they give you a proof of funds. A proof of funds needs to be a screenshot from their bank app on their phone, which is great. You can meet with them and get that, or they can send it to you via text or email. It should have the bank logo. It should have their name on it and at least that amount of money available to buy it. Beware of scam artists writing stuff on letterhead. Whenever you get a letterhead, call the phone number, verify everything, verify the person that signed it. Most proof of funds on a letterhead are fake. They're basically other wholesalers trying to trick you so they can daisy chain your deals, which means put people in between you and your deal. And those types of deals you really want to stay away with unless you really know what you're doing. So when you get a proof of funds, verify it. And remember, if you don't have a deal and you have a quality cash buyer and they don't want to give you a proof of funds till you show them a deal, just let them know when I send you the deal, I'll need that proof of funds. The next thing I want to ask them is their speed to close. How quickly can you close on a deal if we agree to it? And the answer should be no more than 10 to 14 days. Anybody who tells you 30 days, it's a huge red flag. It should not take 30 days to fund a cash deal. In fact, a lot of cash deals can be done as little as 3 and 7 days, especially if the title is already written. If you hear 30 days, it means they're going to try to sell your deal to somebody else. The next thing I'm going to tell them is they have to work with your title company, period. My title company. This is non-negotiable, guys. Do not give up your title company because this is where you're going to lose control of the deal and it will fall apart. They have to use your title company. They've already pulled the title and that's where all the paperwork is. If they won't do that, then move on to the next cash buyer. And the last part of it is, hey, Mr. Cash Buyer, have you ever bought a real estate deal via assignment of contract? And shut up. Why? You're looking for the response. If they say, what is an assignment of contract? Most likely they're not going to be a cash buyer because if they don't understand what an assignment of contract is, you're going to have to spend way too much energy trying to explain it to them. And then they're going to have trust issues with you. If you have someone that truly doesn't understand what assignment of contract is, have them go over to your title company. You can meet them there or you can have your title person explain to them what an assignment of contract and it's completely legitimate. But understand you are not going to get the speed to close because they usually have to miss out on a few deals before they understand what an assignment of contract is. All cash buyers that buy their first deal via assignment of contract are wary, they're slow, and it's difficult, and you want to avoid the type of person that's not used to dealing with assignment of contract. The second part you have to understand of vetting a cash buyer is you actually have to get intel with them and form what we call a professional relationship. Find out what type of buyer they are, find out what their price points are, and find out a little bit about them, what makes them tick, and what really they're looking for. This is going to be valuable in you getting information so you can write contracts for the correct price so you don't have contracts falling out. The best person to get this information from is a cash buyer. See, so many other wholesalers go out, they throw stuff under contract, what they think it's going to be bought for correctly, and then they go back to their cash buyers and 5 cash buyers tell them, there's no way I can pay that amount. So you're better off building a relationship with your cash buyers. This has been unheard of the last 10 years. And if you'll do this, you will actually be a better wholesaler. If you know what your customer wants and your cash buyer is your customer, your motivated seller is your product, you have to know what your customers want to go out and get the right product. So now we move on to step 3, which is what we call the offering. So now we found our cash buyer, we vetted our cash buyer, we formed a relationship with them, and now you have a deal and you want to offer it to your cash buyer. Congratulations. This is actually the fun part, but there's some rules you have to adhere to make this work. Number 1, remind yourself you are not a realtor. Once again, you are not a realtor. Do not present it like a realtor. It doesn't work that way. You are selling the contract, not the property. You must be aware of this. So when you have an offering and once you know what type of cash buyers you have, if you have a full rehab property, do not offer it to your landlord cash buyers. You're wasting time, and that's how you can ruin a relationship with a cash buyer. If you have a true rehab, make sure that it goes to people that are doing rehabs and understand them. Vice versa, landlords. If you have a landlord property, offering it to a true fix and flip guy or gal is going to be disastrous for you. That's the best best way to burn your relationship, and honestly, you waste a ton of time by doing it. So make sure you match your customers with the right product. Next part is you got to provide some basic pertinent information to your contract that your cash buyer can understand and wrap their head around. Remember, if you fabricate this stuff, if you come up with fake rehab numbers and BS ARV numbers after repaired value, you're just wasting your time. You're going to tick off your cash buyers and your relationship's going to fall apart. So give accurate numbers, estimated rehabs, what you think the ARV is. And remember, the ARV is your cash buyers are going to go out and figure their own ARV. So I don't go too far down this rabbit hole. I just tell them what the estimated rehab is and the location of the contract of the property. Now, when it comes to offering your contract, remember, if you have a property under contract for $100,000 and say you want to make a $15,000 spread, you're going to offer your contract for $115,000. That means you're going to earn a $15,000 premium, and that's how you're going to make your offering. Now, I want you to understand this. When you make your initial offer, come in at the number that you believe is going to work, meaning you are not a realtor. We do not overlist these properties and hope and pray somebody buys it from us and will overpay for it. It doesn't work that way with cash buyers. They're smart. That's the reason they have cash. So when you make your offering, be firm on it and you're non-negotiable up front. The minute a cash buyer finds out you're highly negotiable, especially as a newbie in wholesaling, they will take full advantage of you. So do not negotiate. Even if they go, I can't do it, go, listen, I appreciate it. I have other buyers I got to talk to you. Let me know if your mind changes. Do not negotiate your first offering on your contract. By doing this, you're going to make that cash buyer think twice. Now, think of it like eBay. Here's a buy here, pay here now price, or you can go to auction. Now, what I want to do is just create FOMO, and that's just an acronym for the fear of missing out. If that cash buyer really wants it and they're playing poker with you, which a lot of them, if not most of them do, they're going to call you back and come back to you. I always leave every cash buyer, go, listen, if it doesn't work out, great. I have 2 other people coming by this afternoon to look at the property. It's first come, first serve. I'd like to move this property. 115 gets it done. End of story. And by doing that, you're going to find out who really wants the property and who's playing poker with you. And I just like to get it down to 2 cash buyers. And my final go back to them is basically just give me your best offer. And whoever gives me the fairest offer with the best terms, the deal's yours. See, I'm not here to play realtor. This is not a bidding war. I need to move this property and I'm typically trying to move them in 10 to 14 days. You do not have time to play realtor in the wholesaling game when presenting your offerings to cash buyers. So step number 4 just comes down to the execution. And this is basically taking your wholesale deal to the finish line to put that cash in your bank account. Number 1, you've just got to get your assignment agreement. If you don't have one, go over to freewholesaling.com. We provide it absolutely free. I've got 21 years experience on this agreement. Use mine. It'll save yourself a lot of headaches. Remember, when you have the assignment agreement, this is the point where you're going to show your cash buyer your contract. Remember, they're buying your contract. So you withholding your contract makes no sense if you're trying to sign it. So this is the point where you show them the contract because they need to understand the terms of the contract. They've agreed to the price. By showing the contract, they can see when the expiration of your contract is, what the terms are, which is typically cash, and any items that come along with the house. This is the point that you do it. The second part is you have to agree on a non-refundable deposit. And here's the easiest way to remember it. The minimum I ever take from a cash buyer, even on tiny little properties, is $2,500 or 5%. So if I had a $100,000 property, I'm going to ask for $5,000. Don't ever take less than $2,500. Do you know why? Because this is how you sort out the real cash buyers from all the fake people. Because if someone's going to leave a non-refundable deposit with your title company for the assignment contract, they're typically serious about it. And when somebody wants to leave you $100 or $500, understanding you are entering into a risky contract, and I would avoid it altogether. Remember, if their goal is to buy the entire property, say it's $100,000, what's $2,500? It's basically an earnest money deposit. You're setting it up as a non-refundable deposit, and you work with your title company on the terms on how to succeed that transaction. The next thing is always leave a 7 to 10 day buffer on your contract and your assignment contract. So if you have to close by the 30th of the month, then I'm going to tell my cash buyer they have to execute their contract by the 20th or the 23rd of the month. Why am I going to do that? Because if you don't put it in writing an assignment contract, then they're going to take over your expiration date on your contract. And if they don't follow through, you're going to fall out of contract and you're going to risk losing everything. So I like to have at least a minimum 7-day buffer. That way, if they fall through, I can either renegotiate the terms, extend the contract, or find another cash buyer. Do not ever match up your closing date to your assignment expiration contract, because if your cash buyer fails, then you are going to lose your entire profit on the deal. And guys, at this point, make sure your title company is 100% involved as soon as possible. They should reach out to your cash buyer, make sure they have all their information, make sure they have wiring instructions. And I like to use my title company as kind of my spy. They keep an eye on my cash buyers. And if there's anything funky going on, my title company calls me right away. He goes, dude, that guy, John, he's getting squirrely. He's saying he doesn't really have the money to deposit. He's asking if we can extend it. And that's when I get involved and say, John, if you don't close by this date, I'm keeping your deposit. What's the problem? And then try to nail it in the head sooner than later. At this point, you're confirming the closing with your title company, with your cash buyer, and communication is key here. Remember, your title company, because you're using your title company, you have the advantage because they are communicating anything that cash buyer does that's even slightly suspect. Now, once you have a non-refundable deposit, most cash buyers will comply with all requests. That is the beauty of getting a non-refundable deposit, because you don't have to babysit your cash buyer. The smaller the deposit, the more babysitting you have to do. So when it comes to your closing, my suggestion is always to pre-sign your documents, usually the day before. Why? Because you go into a closing is not good. The reality is realtors go to closing because they're always worried about their deal falling apart. Wholesalers, we know that our deal's good and we've done everything and communicated ahead of time so we don't have any disasters at closing. If you show up at closing with your cash buyer, you can actually risk your transaction. By pre-signing the day before, you take any emotions out, nobody says something to upset the other side, and you eliminate what most realtors make a mistake of, going down chasing their commission check. Guys, you're chasing a lifestyle and a profit. We are not here to be realtors. Don't act like a realtor. Act like a wholesaler and pre-sign the day before. So guys, remind yourself every day when you do wholesaling, do not try to sell your cash contracts like realtors sell property, because it's two different worlds. And once you understand that distinction, the more successful you'll be as a wholesaler. So you guys tell me, are you following steps 1 through 4 as I just explained out to find your cash buyers, vet your cash buyers, get your offerings done, and close the deal? Let me know in the comments if you're using these steps. And guys, if you got value from this video, do me a favor, make sure you smash that like button. Make sure you hit that subscribe notification button so I can continue delivering high quality videos on what's best for wholesaling for you today. Guys, this is the truth of wholesaling. My name's Rick Ginn, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks.